Hi there everyone, it's Charissa at Small and Scrappy here with a process video for Peartree Cutfiles. I'm using the stitched leaves background from the October 2022 release today. And I actually made this layout a few weeks ago, and I've only just been able to edit and upload the video properly because I've been having some problems with my Mac for a while. They seem to be resolved, so hopefully you will be seeing a few more videos from me soon. Anyway, so where I'm at here, I've cut the file already, as you can see. It did take quite a while to cut, obviously because there's a lot of small dots, but I just left that running while I was at work one day, so it's come out okay. And what I'm doing is colouring all the leaves with mixed media. So I've started out with a set of Cambella watercolours, which I got from a Go-Go Getaway retreat kit this year. And they are a lovely set, but I'm not quite achieving the effect I want to begin with. I was hoping to get a more sort of opaque finish on the leaves, which I probably shouldn't have used watercolour for. So I do end up using these three in the end, but I do shortly switch to Distress Oxides. But you can see I'm just trying to fill in the patchier bits of the leaves, the lighter sections, just to get a more solid colour on there. And there I go, bringing out my Distress Oxides. So I'm going through and I pull out all the reds, oranges, yellows, browns. I'm testing a few of them up the top there on the cardstock, where you'll see I had the start of a cut that I had to pause, and it's yeah, so I've only got 12 of the leaves, and there is a full background of 16, so I don't end up using the full file effectively. But I'm just testing out those inks. So I've got Barn Door, Candied Apple, Aged Mahogany, Card Pumpkin, Vintage Photo, Ripe Persimmon, Mustard Seed, and I think that's all of the ones I use. And I use a few different combinations on my leaves. Apologies about the shaking of the camera while I'm blending them. I do try and cut a bit of this out, but leave in enough for you to see the process. So I'm only using a few brushes, and I don't clean them between colours, so that each one comes out slightly differently, a slightly different tone. That was the idea anyway, and I'm trying to blend in areas of the other colours on each leaf, just so you can get different effects. And then I'm brushing off the excess on the next one as well, which you can see in the bottom left corner. I've done some red, and I'm now covering that with the orange. So yeah, each leaf is slightly different, and I like the fact that they all come out a bit unique, not quite the same, a little bit imperfect, just like real autumn leaves. So you'll see what I'm doing here is actually splashing some of my paint water on a couple of the leaves. Obviously Distress Oxide does oxidize with water, so I just wanted to see how that affects turns out, so I'm sort of testing it on those two. But I had the idea that it would sort of end up spotty. You know how autumn leaves get those black and brown spots on them once they're a bit old as well. So I was trying to achieve that effect again, just like real autumn leaves. So I do decide to go for it, and I'm splashing on the rest of the leaves as well. And I do actually use some of the watercolour paints themselves, not just the paint water. And the other effect that gives is because they're shimmery, it just gives a little bit of sparkle to the leaves, so they're not just flat colours, and I think it turns out quite nicely in the end. I do skip a little bit, but I actually add some gold mist as well, so there's a few different levels of those splatters. So I've just taken it off the mat, and you'll see I did all the mixed media while my cut file was still on the mat. Especially when I was still planning to use the watercolours, the idea was to avoid it warping, although I have used Vicky Boughton mixed media cardstock, and it's very good for mixed media anyway. I just wanted to avoid it warping at all. So I've started poking out some of the holes just so you'll get the idea there, because they don't all cut perfectly on my machine, but I don't make you watch all of that. And I'm now just picking out some different coloured threads to stitch all the leaves with. So I've got this massive bag which I got from Hobbycraft a little while ago, and again I'm just picking out all the reds, browns, oranges, yellows, matching the ones I might want to use to each leaf, and you'll see I do end up using a slightly different combination on each leaf so they all look differently. And here we go. You wouldn't know it, but that's 12 hours of work later, and I know it's that because I managed to rewatch the entire season of House of the Dragon and then some, so it was very labor intensive, but I'm so happy with how the leaves turned out. So I'm now just fussy cutting all the individual leaves, and I do this first one on camera again so you can get the idea, but I do cut out most of it, and the idea is that I've then got all those individual leaves as sort of embellishments or elements to build my layout from anyway. So I do leave a thin border on each one. Obviously you kind of have to, because otherwise the stitching would all unravel, but I get it as close as I can to the stitching line, again without cutting it through. And I realise while I'm cutting them out that what I should have done is started all the stitching like in the middle of the leaf, because they've all got these knots of thread at the stem of the leaf where it's really thin, and it was something I had to try and cover up at each point when I arranged the final layout, but it still looks absolutely fine. I just didn't think about that while I was stitching. So yeah, I cut each leaf out very roughly, and then I go on to do the detail cutting. I think I sat in front of the telly doing that again. And here they all are. So yeah, I'm so pleased with how these turned out, and I think the extra gold really adds something. I love the texture of the thread, so yeah, super happy with how those turned out. And these are the photos I'm going to use. So as you can see, it's two photos of my little corgi dog, just having a little play in the leaves in the garden, and had a sort of mini photo shoot because the tree was just stunning colours. I do know the type of tree it is, but I've forgotten. I think I'm not sure, I'll have to find out, but my mother-in-law did tell me, and they've got particularly bright, colourful autumn leaves, but they don't last too long, so I'm glad I got these photos in when I did. So I've just got a plain white cardstock background, and this is sort of the image I had from the beginning. I'm just arranging all the leaves around my photos in a sort of a crescent shape to begin with, but I do end up sort of just clustering them because there's quite a few and I need to fit them all on. So yeah, I really didn't need to cut those extra 4 leaves that failed on my first cut, where I scrap in A4. The 12 was absolutely perfect for what I needed to do. And then I'm bringing in a few Peartree Bits and Pieces to finish off my layout. I think these were also from the October release, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to stick down my leaves first, or start to anyway. Yeah, and I do pop some of them up partially on foam just so they've got a bit more dimension, and they're sort of popping off each other and they're not just flat to the page. And I fiddle with the arrangements a little bit. I think it's basically in the shape it ends up in, but I just fiddle with them a bit to make sure they're not covering up too much of my photo or each other. Obviously the nature of the layout does mean some of them do get covered up a little bit. That kind of happens with mixed media. It's a shame. I do kind of wish I'd had one or two spare just to keep out, because I'm so happy with how the individual leaves turned out. But I also think they look great on the layouts, and I'm really happy I spent the time on this idea. So I'm just sticking down my photos before I finish off the leaves, otherwise I might not be able to get them in. I don't mat them or anything, just a little bit of tape at the bottom and foam at the top to pop them up off the background and give them a little bit of dimension. I really don't feel that it needed any pattern paper. The mixed media just makes the layout really, and then I've got the extra Peartree pieces which I bring in a moment, although I don't think I filmed that section. I think my camera died, unfortunately, but you'll get the idea from the final photos. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm super happy with how this turned out. Like I say, it was quite a time intensive layout, but I am so glad I put the time in. Here's the final photos. Like I say, I just absolutely love these. Love the leaves. I love how the layout turned out, and I think it's the perfect way to document these photos of my furry little boy. He just looks so happy in the leaves, and it was such a lovely day. So I'm so glad I've captured the photos like this. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like I say, hopefully I'll have some more videos up soon, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!